guess we got to do our intro.
Yep. Alrighty, welcome back to the, I almost said unsubscribed podcast. The Not So Round Table podcast. We are your hosts, David, Landon. Today, we're going to be talking about your tactical stuff.
Guns, gear, stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't even remember. So when we say tactical stuff, like we're not talking about like how companies will make a camouflage T-shirt and say, oh, it's a tactical T-shirt just because it's camouflage. We mean like actual like tactical stuff
that's based around like whether it be military operations, self-defense like EDC pistols, holsters, like certain knives, stuff like that. Not as, like he said, not as much your just random backpack that has Molly on it that they're going to say, oh, it's tactical, when in all reality it's just a backpack with Molly on it.
Yeah.
Like, can that be used in a tactical sense? Kind of, but that's just not what we're referring to when we say that. So
yeah.
That being said, I think really the first thing we kind of wanted to jump into was really the difference in quality versus cheap, or whenever you're first kind of buying stuff, like do you go and buy something from China for $50 that's a rip-off of something that's $250 made in the U.S.? Is it worth it? What's the point there? So you can go ahead and kind of take off and run with that.
Well, to start, I mean, there's a little saying called buy once, cry once. What's going to happen is if you're getting into kit, you're trying to get stuff for real guns, whatever, even airsoft if you airsoft a lot. If you buy cheap, it's going to wear quicker, it's going to break, it's going to, whatever, you're going to find, and if
find its weak point,
find its weak points, and stuff like that. Very quickly, versus if, let's say, like, for example, let's say you buy a off-brand Cry JPC. That thing is, the colors might be slightly off. The quality's obviously not going to be as good. If you're, let's say you're using it heavily for a year, you can use it and it might fall apart on you. And
then you're having to buy something else.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing is...
Yeah.
You're going to have to, like, you may spend more money in the long run going the cheap route first versus just buying, say, the Cry JPC the first time. Yeah, you're going to spend considerably more money, but if you're going to end up with the Cry JPC eventually anyways, you're not going to have the initial cost of, hey, I bought a crappy plate carrier, and then a year later it's in shambles and fraying and broke, and now I've got to buy either another cheap carrier that you're going to have to do the same thing with over and over, or step up to the real thing. So
yeah. Don't be like, because I made this mistake. Don't buy cheap shit and then be like, oh, I'm just going to upgrade later, because you're just going to spend more money. I did that.
I think anybody that gets into this stuff on some level has done that.
Yeah, some extent.
That's part of it.
But we're here to tell you to not to do that.
Like, save up your money a little bit, even if it takes you a couple more months to get what you're wanting.
Just save.
Like, save up a little bit and get something that you know you're going to like. You're going to be happy with spending that amount of money on. Do your research, figure out what's going to work best for you. Just because you see some YouTube celebrity using a certain gun or a certain plate carrier, battle belt, or whatever, do your research. Everybody's going to have their own preferences, and you got to figure out what's going to work for you, too.
Yeah. Like, just, it's hard to explain. I mean, it's not really hard to explain. Just cheap stuff is just, it's not good. I mean, some of it can be decent, just as good. Like a company called Tacticon, they make, it's cheaper end stuff.
It's usually knockoffs or almost rip-offs of higher-end stuff, whether it be Agilite, they have a K-19 replica, they've got like tourniquet holders that are literally Blue Force gear to a T.
They've got a Trijicon SRO replica, which I'm in the process of testing to see if it's good or not.
See how it actually holds up.
Yeah. If it's good, then by all means buy it.
Because I mean, we've gotten a couple of their things, and I mean, we've been happy with them, but at the same time, it's still, there are those differences. I mean, plate carrier, for example, not to harp on it too much because we'll do a full breakdown on that, but there's material differences for sure. Like we've mentioned before, and I know you've tested it. They show up differently on night vision. Real materials are not going to really shine, whereas cheaper materials tend to have like a gleam or almost like a white look.
Yeah, like for example, like I went from a Tacticon, their K19 replica, I think it's called the Battle Vest Elite, and I had that originally. He runs that
For now.
Before you get your Spiritus set up. I went from that to a Faro Concepts FCP CV5, and I love it. Night and day difference. It's smaller. It mitigates heat a lot better. I don't get as hot in it.
Need shoulder straps, which you have now.
I have shoulder straps now. Yeah, the shoulder straps were a little thin, but I did get some of their padded shoulder straps, and it's a lot better. But back to the night vision stuff with that. I got my Tacticon carrier, set it in the grass outside, and got my Faro Concepts carrier. They're both Ranger Green, same color. Set it in the grass and looked through it through my monocular, and the Tacticon carrier was almost white. It was just bright.
Was that under IR or just like under an IR illuminator?
No.
Or just, okay.
If it's under IR illuminator, it's even brighter.
Way worse, yeah, because that's when it almost gets like a reflective property to it.
Yeah, it's even brighter.
So, I mean, that's just one of many examples. I mean, you start getting into quality issues too. Quality control is going to be one of the major things when you go cheap. They have to skimp on cost somewhere. That's how they make it cheap. Mm-hmm. It's got to come from somewhere. So it's either going to be materials or quality control or both. I mean, take a Krydex holster, for example, and I know we've mentioned it before and stuff and talked about it. T-Rex or Lucas Botkin just did an awesome review on that about comparing his stuff to Chinese knockoffs. But that being said, major differences with like a holster is going to be the overall fit and finish. Most of the time, the material's the same. The Kydex is Kydex for the most part, unless they just go super thin. But you're going to run into retention issues where it's going to be wobbly instead of having a firm like click in, click out. And like some of the edges are not going to be as finished as well. They may be sharp or jugged or anything like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you're going to run into across the board that most of the time, not all the time, because like you said, sometimes you can get stuff that's just as good or really is just as good. But most of the time, it's going to be worth saving up for an extra, whether it's a month or a few months or whatever, get that extra little bit of money and throw it towards something that's American made, something that's been tried and true, that's been ran through testing, has a lot of reviews, whatever the case may be. Like, it's worth investing a lot of times in something that is more expensive to get a better quality that's going to last you a lot longer and not spend more money down the road because you try to go the cheap route the first time. Yeah. We've all done it, unfortunately.
Yeah. We all do it somewhere, somehow. No, it doesn't even have to be gear. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyday stuff you can buy cheap, but it's always not
go on Amazon and look at any of the Amazon picks. They're all going to be cheap. Yeah. But 90% of the time, they're a rip-off of something and the quality is nowhere as good. And there's a reason that it's cheap.
Yep. Just save up the extra money that way. Don't be like, oh, I'm just going to buy this cheap plate carrier or whatever, and then I'm just going to save up after I buy it and get a good one later. Yeah. Why are you going to spend... Oh, you're going to spend not twice the money, but you're going to spend extra money doing that. You're just avoiding.
You're just prolonging the inevitability.
Yeah, you're spending more money. You're wasting your money. I mean, we've done that. We've both done that. I mean, I wish I wouldn't have, but I did it with both my plate carrier and my belt.
Twice. You had two Tacticon plate carriers. You first one, your old one wasn't in a Tacticon.
Oh yeah, I went through two damn, I did. I forgot
about you've done it twice and steel plates.
Listen, we'll talk about that.
But, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with trying things. I mean, if you see something that looks promising and you want to try it, that's on you. Yeah. But when it comes to stuff, especially stuff when it comes to kit that is there to save your life in the whatever situation, whether it be an EDC holster and pistol, whether it be a plate carrier and plates, whether it be an IFAC, anything that is truly there, the whole reason that you have it is to save your life or defend yourself or your family or whatever, is that something, do you really want to take that risk on, hey, I'm saving an extra $100? I mean, in a way, you're almost putting a price on your life. Like, is it worth getting that $100 rebate or discount, but then possibly having a failure down the road? I mean, it's just something to take into account. Like, he has the Tacticon SRO. Strictly got it super cheap for us to test. We're going to beat the living shit out of it.
If it works, great.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, don't buy it.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of those stuff that we're doing, some of it for media. We're focused on a lot of that stuff. Just gives us some stuff to try, and plus, I mean, we get to beat on something, so that's always fun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we're not trying to do this to trash talk any other companies, tell them, like, hey, their shit is garbage, don't buy it.
I mean, we've spent plenty of money on these companies, so.
We're doing this because, I mean, everyone, like, you can look this site up on YouTube, and it's going to be people who have gotten the site for free.
Sent to them.
Going to be the company that makes them themselves, not saying they're not honest or anything, but obviously they're always, like...
They're biased.
They're biased. They're going to show the absolute best of that optic or belt or whatever else. Versus, yeah, I got this at a discount, but I spent it with my money.
Mm-hmm.
I got it to test it to see if it actually works, which hopefully will translate. If it works, great, go buy it. But if it doesn't, put it on an airsoft gun.
Yeah. I would say, and I mean, another major reason we're doing it is Madison. One of our good buddies, he's one of the other owners of ESB. Like, he's starting to get into kit, gear, guns, stuff like that with us. And we didn't want to see him go through spending extra money on buying random stuff. So we sat him down, we educated him on everything, and we've kind of helped him through that. And I mean, we know he's not the only one that's just getting into this. I mean, everybody has a starting point at one point in time. And I mean, instead of him going and getting some cheap red dot from Walmart to throw on to his AR, he shelled out the money to get a full EOTech and magnifier combo. And yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's sweet.
It is.
I'm a little jealous.
But like I said, that's set up with like $12, $13, $100. Like, yeah, why buy that when you can buy a, like you said, $60 site mark, or however cheap they are.
$100 through Walmart or Bass Pro or whatever. Like,
exactly.
Will it work? Yeah. But for how long?
Exactly.
Is that something you're going to take it to the range, and after one range day you're going to have to re-zero it?
Yeah.
Or is it going to completely fail? I mean, go back. I mean, there's countless stories of people that they get their first gun, they grab a red dot off the shelf at Walmart, throw it on there, and it breaks like the first mag.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things. It's a learning curve. I mean, everybody's going to go through it.
But we're trying to help you avoid doing that.
Because it gets expensive when you do that.
Expensive.
I mean, this isn't a cheap hobby in the first place.
No, it is not.
My wallet hates me every day.
but yeah, I had like I said, I had my plate carrier from Tacticon, and I had their battle belt.
I forgot you had that.
Yeah, I upgraded the battle belt from their Tacticon battle belt to an AWS SMU, which AWS, they're based out of Fayetteville. They supply stuff to active military, special forces, whatever. But, I mean, prime example, if I got my Tacticon battle belt with all the shit on it and I did this,
it's folded over.
It would fold over. It wouldn't hold up and basically support itself. Hell, it'll even do that with the pistol. You say, oh, the pistol's not even in it, but hell, it even does that with the pistol in it.
Getting your forearm workout.
Shit, I did that this morning. I can't even pull that out of my holster.
Struggling.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and trying stuff is fun. I mean, but...
Part of it, but still.
If you're going to just trial and error stuff, A, do your research before you spend your money. And B, try quality stuff. Don't take a chance on junk. If you're going to take a chance and try something, buy quality stuff. Because not only are you buying quality stuff, if you don't like it, you can resell it. Like, most of the time, real, like, good gear, the resale market out there is insane.
You're going to get probably close to, if not, what you pay for it. Especially if you try it on.
If it's lightly used,
and you don't like it, and it's barely used, people are going to pay full.
I mean, there is pages everywhere, whether it's forums or different social media platforms that have pages on it where you can resell gear or just buy gear from people that... Mm-hmm. Whether they didn't like it, whether it's used, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, if you're going to try something, strongly encourage, try the real product, good stuff,
Yeah.
and just see what you like. I mean,
Yeah, don't. We're gonna keep preaching this. Don't
you keep going. I'm just reading. Just seeing
buy
what we
cheap
talk
stuff like when it comes to guns. Don't buy cheap parts like people buy PSA. People love PSA. Sure, they probably. I mean, my AR is besides my lower, my upper, everything is PSA. It's not a mid tier, which mid tier means like duty grade, whatever. But I have shot I don't know how many rounds through it, and it has yet to fail. Or I mean, it had a little like
You had some clearance issues.
clearance issues with my charging handle, bolt carrier, whatever. But it's cleared itself. It's clearanced itself, so it runs fine.
But again, that's one of the things that you run into when you go with more budget options is quality control. Like I said, the materials and stuff. I mean, for the most part, on like taking an AR for example, there's really only 3 major components that you really are like vastly important: barrel, bolt carrier group, trigger. And the trigger is kind of arguable. Like some people love mil spec triggers; they're fine with that. Okay, whatever. So we'll just say bolt carrier group and barrel. As long as those 2 are good, most of the other stuff on there is kind of preference or for certain aesthetics or like a charging handle, for example. A mil spec charging handle is going to work perfectly fine every single time. But if you have gloves on, or like what Madison ran into the other day with his optic setup, they're closer. You can't necessarily reach in there and charge it as easily. It's harder with one hand. Like some stuff like that, it's all preference. So, I mean, that's one of those things where there is some gray area. I mean, PSA makes some great stuff. I mean, they make some cool rifles. I've got one of their uppers. Never had the first issue out of it. But there's also a lot of people out there that have had issues with stuff. I mean, it's just one of those things that when you're getting something more on the budget side, the reliability from batch 1 to batch 3 to batch 5, whatever, may be different. Whereas if you go something like BCM, you know whether it's the first one off the line or the last one off the line 3 batches later, they're going to be pretty much the exact same.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to pay more for it, but you're getting better quality product out of it.
And when it comes to buying like internal stuff, like bolt carrier stuff, don't again back to the not cheaping out thing. Buy a good bolt carrier group. Like I have like my bolt carrier group is a PSA bolt carrier group. Like yeah, it runs fine, but I want to upgrade it to a duty grade bolt carrier because I don't want to actually need the rifle to protect my life or save my life, whatever, save someone else's life, and then all of a sudden firing pin breaks.
When you get into issues with firing pins, gas keys, stuff being staked, that's a huge one in ARs. Is your barrel nut, if you're getting a pre-assembled one, is your barrel nut staked? Is your buffer tube staked? Or your castle nut on your buffer tube? Big thing is gas ports, gas keys, stuff like that. If stuff's not staked, I mean, when you're getting it hundreds of degrees and it's cooling, hundreds of degrees it's cooling, it's expanding and contracting. Is that Dakota again? I saw a red truck. Anywho, sorry, horn blew. When you start getting into stuff like that, it's going to back out and you're going to have issues down the road.
Yeah. Just do your research before you buy stuff.
I think we've harped on the whole quality stuff a little bit. So,
like we said, we're going to be doing videos, testing a bunch of shit. Is it good? Is it not good? Blah, 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 blah. Just keep an eye out for that because those will be coming up soon. What to look for when buying kit. So, let's start with, I guess we'll start from everyday carry. Everyday carry, when you get to like an in-waistband holster, first question is going to be, do you just want the pistol? Do you want an extra magazine? Do you want to be able to carry a tourniquet with like attached to the holster? Do you want to just get just the holster, then get a separate carry that you could put somewhere else on your belt, like behind you, where you can just reach for your magazine, whatever? That stuff we can't tell you what to buy. Well, we can tell you what brands to buy, but we can't tell you what you want, what you're gonna want. It's all user preference.
And I mean, it depends. I mean, if you live in Florida where it's 9,000 degrees year round versus you live in New York where you can't hardly have anything, or you live in North Dakota where you're in ranching stuff. Like, it's all situational. I mean, it all just depends on what situation, what need you have. And I mean, different people are going to like different things.
Mm-hmm.
Different guns are going to fit people differently.
That's just something like go to like when buying pistols, like don't just be like, oh, that YouTuber Grantham, he runs a Glock or whatever he's running. That's a good pistol because he runs it. I want to buy that. You might not like it. It might not fit right in your hand. You need to go like if you're gonna buy a pistol from somewhere, go to the gun store. If you have your eyes, if you're looking online, like say you have your eyes on a Glock 19 or a SIG or something, go to the gun store, hold it, look
Or
at
if
it.
you can, go to a range that lets you rent them. If you're
Yeah.
really like, if you're narrowed it down to like 3 options, go rent them and shoot a
'em.
mag or 2 through them.
Yeah, see which ones you like and which one's more comfortable for you. Because in the end of the day, if it's got to make sure it's comfortable for you because that's what may or may not save your life in the future. When it comes to plate carriers, that's a topic.
A little bit more difficult to just go and find and try because there's not a lot of stores that just say, "Hey, go try all these on."
Yeah,
Wish there was.
yeah, I'd
Be cool.
be dope. Talk to people, like go on these online forums, see how people have their plate carriers set up, see how big it is, how it fits, what like all that stuff. Because plate carriers can depend. Like the setup of a plate carrier can vary so much. You have
Again, it's situational.
You have to know how you want to set it up, what you're going to use it for. Like if you're just ever a Joe Schmo that goes to the range every 2 to 3 months, a plate carrier might not be the best idea.
Get you a chest rig.
Yeah, get a chest rig.
Or a belt. I mean.
Or yeah, even a belt.
Or I mean, is this going to be a bump in the night? Like, hey, somebody's outside my house. And like you obviously if they're already inside your house you don't have time for all that, but like if something's going on and you know something's going on, hey, I can throw in this on. Well, you probably don't need full assault panel on the rear and all this stuff if it's something that
assault panels are something else, like backpacks and assault panels. Like I know Spiritus did a video on it, like
super cool.
If you are just like you're the only one that's going to be wearing kit, you're the only one that's going to be basically, I wouldn't say kicking
if you're
doors.
solo.
If you're solo, you don't need a back panel.
Good luck accessing it.
Yeah, get a backpack.
Yeah.
Because if you're solo and you have a back panel, how are you gonna reach anything?
You're gonna be looking like a goofy monkey trying to reach over his shoulder. Like it just don't happen.
It ain't gonna work.
I've had that issue before. Like going back to airsoft days, like wore a back panel. I'm like, I'll always have somebody around me, and then all of a sudden you get separated from your group. I'm like, man, I really want my water bottle that's in there, but you can't get to it. I mean.
I just lost my train of thought.
Well, we'll just kind of switch topics since we've kind of been harping on that. So, just what's your favorite aspect of the tactical world? I mean, I know there's guns, there's gear, there's helmets, there's night vision. I mean, I know you've kind of, at least in the past 6 months, like really deep dived on to gear specifically. Is there anything like that really just got your attention, like whether it be a plate carrier or helmets or anything like you really deep dove into more than anything else?
What I've honestly probably the electronic warfare type stuff, like your comms and stuff like that. At least like I love like plate carriers, how people set them up, but like the ATAC systems where like you'll see guys that have like a flip down screen. Those are called wave relays and stuff like that. It's just that stuff's really cool. Like if you go to Pharaoh, if you go to Pharaoh does stuff with them too. If you go to Forward Observation Group's YouTube channel, they have a video of some guys training and going into a shoot house, and there's a dude up on the catwalk above him, and he has one of the things down. And he's as the guys are breaching into the room, he's watching the helmet cam of one of them. Like I think that stuff's really cool. And like the wave relay, you can control drones with it. You can basically surf the internet with it. It's wild. That's the kind of like, and like obviously like just basically when it comes to kit, the technology stuff fascinates me. Like what all you can do, night vision, ear pro, whatever.
Black magic.
Basically, yeah, that's night vision, is black magic. But like your ear protection, like your OpsCore amps or your Peltor Contact 5s, whatever, like that stuff's cool to me.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, and the thing is with tech, just kind of playing off what you were saying, is it changes so much. There's always something new coming out. I mean, that's across the board with gear. But a lot of gear, I mean, it hadn't changed a whole lot in the past 10, 15 years. I mean, you go back to beginning of GWatt and end of GWatt, like, most of the gear's pretty daggone similar.
Yeah.
I mean, it hadn't changed a lot. But the technology from 9/11 to a couple years ago is massively different.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's one of those things. It's always evolving. Gear is just at a much slower pace.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always something new to look up. And, I mean, like I said, the black magic of night vision, like, it's fascinating, but it still makes zero sense how a tube can do the things that a tube does.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't know. It's wild. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
I mean, this is something that, obviously, this podcast is a little bit shorter than some of them will do, and we'll deep dive into a lot of the different specific gear stuff that we have. And if there's any specific stuff you want to see us have and want to see videos on, just let us know. I mean, we're more than happy to dive in, whether it's a review or just a certain video about anything that you guys want to see. I mean, this is something that we all love to do.
If you see a product that you're not sure about because it's from a lesser known brand company that you'd like to see someone try and put a good review out on, just let us know what it is, and we might be able to get that product and test it. I guess we'll move on to the next topic of gear versus guns. What should you buy first?
Yep. Well, let's hold there and I'll reset real quick.
That was the time to...
Just about.
Oh, are you trying to wrap up the podcast?
Well, I didn't know whether you wanted to keep it going or whether you wanted to...
Well, we'll hit this last topic and then we'll...
Okay. I was going to give you like a 3-minute warning, and then you started that, and I'm like, well, we'll just roll with it.
But gear versus guns, what should you buy first? So, it's always going to be guns first. You want... Because, I mean...
Kind of pointless to have a full battle belt and plate carrier
with
when
no
you have nothing to use it with. Like, get you a good EDC pistol. That's always going to be my first recommendation. Get you a pistol, a holster, and a bunch of ammo. Go learn that pistol. Go train with it. Shoot the crap out of it. Get to where you are proficient with it before you go and buy all this gear. You can have all the gear in the world, but if you don't train and you don't shoot regularly, this is a depleting skill. Like, if you don't shoot for 6 months, you are not just going to be able to grab it and go. Much less if something actually happens and your heart rate's up, your adrenaline's going. You're going to be up the creek without a paddle if something pops off and you haven't shot 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something... Training is going to be key over absolutely anything, over any piece of gear that you could ever find.
Yeah, that's like... There's people out there that are like, oh, I've got 300 guns in my house. I'm sure enough safe. I've got 10,000 rounds. Well, how often do you go shoot? Once every few months. Well, you're just a fancy loot drop then.
Yeah.
Because someone that trains is going to come.
Yeah.
You're going to get in a fight with them, and they're going to win, and they're going to... All that stuff that you saved up and bought and you're stockpiling is all theirs now.
Yep.
It's just... If you don't train and you're not fit, as Grantham said, you're going to die.
Yep.
It's just how it's going to go.
And I mean, that's another thing, is you could go to the range, flat range, and stand there in a lane, whether it's indoor, outdoor, whatever, and shoot all day long and be the best shot ever on a flat range. But if you're 300 pounds and all you eat is Little Debbie's and Cheetos and don't ever do cardio and anything, if anything is ever to happen, you're not going to be stationary. No. And your target's likely not going to be completely stationary. You're going to have to move. Your heart rate is going to be elevated. I don't care how special you think you are that, hey, you know what? I don't get worried about anything. When rounds start flying, and I mean, I can't even speak from this, but that's why we train with sprinting and running and getting our heart rate up. Like, your adrenaline's going to hit, your blood's going to start pumping, your heart's going to start going, your fine motor skills are going to go out the window. That's why you need to be able to fall back onto training. Like, you're going to find your weak point at some point when you were training and realize, oh, hey, I sucked at that during this evolution of whatever we're doing. Whether it's reloads, whether it's, hey, I just ran 100 yards and I am gassed. I mean, take the day that we went to Mendota and we're like, hey, we're going to put full kit on, go hike this mountain. I've hiked that mountain 100 times as I was growing up. One, I've gotten a little fat. And two, you add kit on, even though it's on your person, you're like, it's not that heavy. When you start walking up a mountain, we were gassed pretty quick. And that's when we realized, like, ooh.
It's time to go to the gym.
Yeah, like maybe we're not in as good of shape as we think we are. Like walking around carrying a pistol every day is great, but if you're not proficient with it and you're not in, at a very least, decent shape, you're not going to be in good shape if anything ever does happen.
Exactly, but there's always a chance that nothing is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a chance that you could walk into the mall and all of a sudden someone's in there with some rifle trying to kill everybody. You just got to make sure you're ready for that.
Yep. I mean, there's no way to fully prepare yourself for that, like, hits the fan scenario. Like, you're never going to be fully prepared unless you're an operator that goes down range and you're just cold-blooded at that point. You're never going to be prepared for rounds start flying towards you. And that's going, even myself, you, I don't care how much we train. Like, there's going to be a little bit of panic in there. But with that panic, if you train, you're still going to have those fundamentals that you've trained on that are almost second nature, to where you can fall back on that. I mean, you're only as good as your training.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you train, you have that to fall back on, whether it's dry fire, whether it's at the range. Like, just get the reps in, put in the time and the effort. I mean, you can have all the pieces of gear. You can have the best Staccato 2011 out there that is $3,000-$4,000, but if you're not proficient with it, then what's the point?
Exactly. You just like I said, you're a
fancy loot drop.
Fancy loot drop. Someone's gonna get you, and they're gonna get all your stuff.
Yep. But I mean, I think for the most part that I agree. Guns are always going to come over gear. Training's going to come with that. Like, that's just a big thing. Gear is a addition. Having gear is going to help you be better. It's going to help you be faster, whether it's reloads, whatever the case may be. If it's a plate carrier that has plates in it, like, yes, that's going to keep you in the fight, in theory. But at the same time, like, you're only as good as you can be. Like, the human body is only so good, and no matter how much gear you pile on, you're still going to have your own personal limits.
Exactly. It's not, people think like, oh, wars, like video games, whatever. No, like, if you're wearing a ballistic plate, you're wearing full kit, whatever, you take a round to the chest,
you're down for a minute. You're
going to be on the ground. Because you're going to be trying to catch wind, because it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't go through your plate and you survive, you're going to be down.
Yeah. It ain't Call of Duty where you just like, oh, hey, whatever, put another plate in. Like, that's not how life works. Yeah. Like, there's back face deformation where you're still getting physically punched in the chest by the back of that plate.
Yeah.
Whether it's ceramic, steel, anything, like, you have a very fast, it may be light, but fast projectile. There's a lot of energy that comes with a bullet.
Yeah.
Even if you stop it dead in its tracks, that's going to hurt like hell.
Yeah.
So,
when it comes to training, war is like, you see all these fancy high-speed videos, like people are in shoot houses, you got teams of 6 or 7 clearing a house. War or any kind of conflict is not like that. It's
especially for the everyday civilian. I mean, those guys, like, if you look at Fog, those guys are going over there and doing that.
Yeah.
Like, is it cool? Does it look super awesome on camera to train like that and do stuff like that? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, let's say you come home one day from work and your door's standing wide open with the bolt jacked up, like somebody's forcibly entered your house. At that point in time, you don't have 5 more guys. You don't have time to call me and wait 20 minutes for me to get there. Like, you've got to go in, know what's going on. Like, don't train to be the next superhero. Train for your scenario. I mean, you know what you do. If you live in Chicago, New York, you know what your environment's going to be. Yeah. If you live here where a lot of us live a little bit more rural, you know what that situation's going to be. And that goes down to training. That goes down to, like, rifles, kit set up, everything. I mean, if you're going to be going in and you expect, like, hey, if I ever get in a fight, it's going to be city environment, I'm within 50 meters of my target. Well, then you don't need a 308 AR that you've got a 12 times scope on it. you probably just need a red dot and a basic 223
or
a pistol. Whereas if you live out in the middle of nowhere, where most of your situations are going to be possibly up to 200, 300, 400 yards, you might want an LPVO, or you might want a 308 or something like that. I mean, it's all situational based.
Yeah.
There isn't a cookie cutter answer for everybody that's just going to work every time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It literally comes down to, like, yeah, sure, we're preaching this, but we have plate carrier, belt, and stuff like that. Chances are going to have it if we get into a chance where we have to use our pistol, we're not going to have time to put on our belts or anything. Basically, the belt and the plate carrier is just
enjoyment.
It's cool stuff. I mean, it goes along with our firearms, so we do it, and most likely we're never going to have to use it in our life.
I hope we never do.
I hope we never have to use it.
But that's also why we proficiently train with just our pistols and EDC and drawing from concealment, is because more than likely, I mean, probably a 1,000,000 to 1 odds, if anything, if either of us was to ever get into some type of conflict, it's going to be out in public, in the middle of who knows where, when all we have on us is our pistol, maybe an extra mag. You're not going to be at home. I mean, home invasions are very rare now. I mean, you don't ever...
Depends on where you're at.
Well, valid. But
here, it's rare.
Here, it's rare. I mean, and that's, again, goes to situational. I mean, do we still have a bump in the night gun set up in our house?
Yeah.
Yes. But at the same time, most of the training that we do proficiently and like frequently is with pistols, drawing from concealment, shoot and move, moving then shooting, shooting on the move, stuff like that is going to be more real world situational for us.
Yeah, you're more likely to use your pistol and your in the waistband holster, concealed holster than this.
I mean, I wish I could just walk around everywhere with a tack belt on.
Oh, I do too, but
that's how you get in trouble.
We're not tier 1 operators.
Nope.
Traveling the world, kicking indoors for a living. So here we are.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the stuff we do it just because we enjoy it. It's fun. It's something that we enjoy spending our money on and diving into. And like I said, the chance of us ever using it is slim to none.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I hope I never do. That being said, even over some of that stuff, like over gear, one thing I really want to do is we all have IFAKs and stuff, but a lot of our IFAKs are more of like semi-minor boo-boo stuff or like a simple stop bleed. I can plug a hole.
Yeah, tourniquets.
But what happens when you get shot in the lung? I can't do a lung decompression or anything.
Yeah.
That's something I would love to do, is go and take an actual like medic course.
Yeah.
And be a little bit more proficient with stuff like that, because that's something too. Let's say that it's not just like, hey, you got shot. What if you get in a car wreck?
Yeah.
And like, or you're driving down the interstate and all of a sudden you see there's a bad car wreck, somebody's messed up. Like, hey, I want to be able to help that. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's not good cell service. Like, that could be the difference in you being able to save somebody's life.
Yeah.
Or you try to and you don't know what you're doing and you go to jail because you made things worse.
Yeah. That's like, for example, let's say you don't have a pistol. You don't have any sort of firearm because you can't afford it. You want to do something. You want something to carry. If you were to carry anything, because I carry one every day, I'd carry a tourniquet. Because you're more likely to use this than you are this.
Because, I mean, not everybody's in a situation where they're going to hurt. But let's say you at work. I mean, you're working on something and let's say something falls off the lift or you obliterate your finger doing something while you're working on a car.
Yeah.
Like, if it's all of a sudden like, hey, I hit a major artery or vein or anything like that, like, you're going to hurt yourself or get hurt way more likely than getting in a shootout at the mall.
Hell, you might not even use it on you, like you said. Like he said, like you could be out with your wife or whatever at the mall, and you see a car accident, someone's leg gets cut off. At least you can use this to possibly save their life and stop their bleeding. I mean, you're not going to go up to them and be like, "Oh, let me just put them out of their misery."
I mean, you might.
You're
going to jail, but you might.
It depends, but
there's psychopaths out there.
Yeah, but I tourniquets, I mean, they're $30.
Yeah. And I mean, like he said, it's one of those things that everybody bleeds.
Yeah, everybody bleeds.
I mean, I'd say 90% of the world has had something out there where they've broken a bone, they've had stitches, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that every time you go and you just cut your hand that you're going to need to go throw a tourniquet on.
No.
But at the same time, I keep a first aid kit in my car. It goes with me on every trip that I go. it's not for this mass casualty. It's more just for the event that when we were off-road and cut his hand open. Like, hey, I had the stuff to disinfect it because everything was dirty. Had the stuff to wrap it up, make it stop bleeding so that we could get him off the trail and he could go to the doctor and all that. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be, hey, somebody just lacerated their femoral artery and now you're having to stop a gashing bleed. Like,
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, stuff happens in the real world.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, I think we're both getting sleepy and we've ate and it's warm in here. So
yeah.
I think it's about time to go ahead and we'll call this one. And so I guess, like I said, let us know if there's anything you want to see, if there's any topics you want us to talk about or anything. And
If you have any questions about
anything,
EDC, kit, whatever, you just ask.
Yeah, I mean, we're more than happy, and we're going to get some more people on here. Like, I definitely want to get Madison on here where he's kind of new to everything after we take him to the range and kind of get his take on everything. And
Yeah.
we'll have some other guests for some other versions of podcasts, but let us know what you think, kind of the tactical side.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to figure out exactly where we want to go with everything, and this is something we're passionate about. So
And obviously keep an eye out on the YouTube and the actual, like, our channel, and look out for our review videos and whatever else.
yeah, so we're going to go get out of here, probably go and play some Tarkov and relax and get ready for New Year's, and
Yeah.
hope you guys have a good New Year's, and I guess we will catch you on the next Not So Round Table podcast.
See you guys.
Adios. Oh, I guess I need to go stop that now.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just sitting here looking at you, waiting on you to shut it down.
I wish, dude. I wish.